Hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Amanda, and we have a book haul and a mid month wrap up to get to today. So, I am going to jump right in and show you the books that I got for free. There was a post on Facebook, and somebody said, "We're moving. We have left some books outside. Come by and pick up whatever you want." Well, I was still trying to get my three books for her kid that are the garage sale books. And so I had been looking on Facebook Marketplace and I saw this and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get it because the first book on top was Hidden Pictures and I've been wanting to read it. So I was like, okay, this is the only one that I've ever heard of. The rest of them I picked up because they were free. So Hidden Pictures, I now have. I don't know anything about it except it's scary. And I said yes. In the Likely Event by Rebecca Yarros. This is the author of Fourth Wing, but apparently she wrote contemporary romance before that. I don't love contemporary books, but we're going to check it out and see. And maybe it's not romance. It could actually be like a thriller or something. Never mind. I just glanced at the back. It's definitely a romance. So I will check that out. Then I have Where the Dead Sleep by Joshua. Somebody got covered up by Target, but this is a Target book club book. So apparently this person bought this at Target and then gave it away. So I don't know anything about it except it looks like a thriller. This one does as well. You Shouldn't Have Come Here. Geneva Rose, maybe. I'm going to guess Rose. Anyway, clearly the person who gave these books away loves to shop the sale books, the books that are on sale at Target. And then finally, the last one by an author I've heard of is The Girl in the Castle by James Patterson and Emily Raymond. I'm wondering if that means Emily Raymond wrote this and James Patterson, like, I don't know, said, okay, that looks good. Let's put my name on it. I don't know how that works. My name is Hannah Dory and I need you to believe me. Okay. So apparently we have some thrillers happening over here and then randomly one contemporary romance in here. But those were all my free books that I just got off Facebook Marketplace. And then speaking of Facebook Marketplace, I found somebody who was actually selling books and I saw a series that was in there, 4 books. And I said, hey, are those still available? Because I would love them. And she said, yes, $20. And I said, okay. So it is the whole Kennedy Ryan series. When You Are Mine, Loving You Always, Be Mine Forever, and Until I'm Yours. I love that they all match. The covers are similar. They're all the same size as far as height goes. They're going to look great on my shelf. But I can use the first 3 of them for my her kid because I bought these on Facebook Marketplace just like as if I were going to a garage sale. So those are my garage sale books. And then I just have book 4 because I was not going to just buy 3 books of a series. So then we're almost finished. We have the new books that I got in the last month, and they actually came from Barnes and Noble. I went on a little shopping trip with my son, and I got Nettle and Bone. I've been trying to buy all the T. Kingfisher books, and weirdly, I bought Nettle and Bone, and then I read A Sorceress Comes to Call, which you'll see. So it's funny that I didn't read the one I bought, but I have it now. I still haven't read it. Then I got, this one is the last one I got from Barnes& Noble. Apparently it has a sticker on it that says exclusive edition, which I didn't realize. It's Lana Ferguson. I read her book about the Loch Ness Monster earlier this year, and I liked it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to pick this up. It also is a sports romance, and I needed that I thought I needed it to fill a prompt on my bingo board, but I had another book and didn't think about the fact that it was romance. I mean, it was sports. So it filled that prompt. So now I just have this to read as soon as I want to. And then finally, off of Amazon, I got a physical copy of Barracoon by Zora Neale Hurston. This is the Young Readers edition by Ibram X. Kendi. And so I'm going to read this and then donate it to my library. It looks like it's not going to be very long. The back of it says, this is the life story of Cujo Lewis as told by himself. So I think it's going to be very cool to read this one as well. And that is it. Those are the new books that I've added this month or over the past month. And so now let's talk about the things I read. I'm going to keep it pretty straightforward this time. I'm going to go through them in the order that I read them. So the first book of the month that I read was The Keeper of Lost Things. Y'all, I gave it 5 stars. Like, I kicked off the month with a 5-star read, and when I first started reading this book, I was like, "Oh, this is not gonna be what I want. This is too much historical fiction, not enough stuff happening, or not enough characterization for me to love it." Well, it didn't take me any time to be like, "Never mind, never mind. This is so good." So, we have a woman who is looking for a job, and she goes to work for this man who is an author, and her job is to just take care of his correspondences and do things like that. She's like his administrative assistant. Well, he dies and leaves her everything, and one of the things that she finds out is in his study, he had been collecting lost items. So anything that he found, he marked where he found it and when he found it. And he told her, like, "I'm sure you'll know what to do with these things to reunite them with the people they go with." And so this book is her journey of like figuring out why maybe he had all these objects that he had just found and picked up, and then how she was continuing his mission as well as connecting the lost items with the people that they went with. So it was very cool. We did jump back in time when we're talking about an item. We get to go back in time and find out how it was lost and who lost it, how he found it, and all that stuff. Okay, book number 2. Yes, I did have to stop and put my hair up because it's hot. Even though outside it's 14 degrees. It's hot in my house, and I had to put my hair up. A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher. I gave this 5 stars. Y'all, what a way to start the month. I started the month with two 5-star reads. I was so excited about how this month was going to go. Anyway, fantasy book. Fantastic. We're mostly from the point of view of a girl whose mom is a sorceress, and she goes to call. I don't want to give anything away except it's historical fantasy, and it's mostly about a girl learning that the world is bigger than she thinks it is. And it's a retelling of a story called Goose Girl, which I have no idea what that story is, but it's a retelling of that story. So if you know Goose Girl, then maybe you'll recognize elements of this. Anyway, I loved it so, so much. And if you have read this book, I just need you to know how much I love Richard. Like, Richard is the sweetest. And every time I talk about this book, I'm going to talk about Richard. And from now on, when anybody says, "Do you have a book boyfriend?" I'm probably going to forget about this, honestly, and be like, "No, I don't." But it's Richard. So I'm officially saying right now, it's Richard from A Sorceress Comes to Call. He is the sweetest and the best, and I love him. Okay, 5 stars. Then I finished Love Another Day, which is the next in the Lexi Blake series. It's like book 14 or 20 or something. I don't know. It's one of the books further down the list. And so I can't really give away things that happen other than to say this one was really long. Like, it was almost 500 pages. So it definitely spent a lot of time with the new characters, but also the core characters that we hang out with all the time. So in general, it was just really good. Like, I just always love being back with those people. Even though at the core of it, it is a romance, like specifically a BDSM romance. So I would think that I would not be all into it, but it's the characters for me. I fell in love with them in the very first book, and they have been here throughout. I mean, some of them die and some of them get married and new people come in and babies are born, but still, it is the people that I love that I keep coming back to. Then I read Jacqueline Winspear's book, another Maisie Dobbs, called The Mapping of Love and Death. And this is about a cartography unit in World War I. And there's a mystery surrounding what happened to this unit, specifically one guy in the unit who was an American whose dad was a British citizen. And so he was like, "Okay, I'm going to go over and fight for Britain," because America hadn't joined the war yet. And so it's just about him and his unit. And he was already a cartographer in general, like in his life. So he joined that unit really quickly. And they were sometimes on the front line because they needed to be able to map the terrain so that the soldiers knew where to go and the commanders knew where to send the soldiers. So I never thought about it like that. But of course, I mean, they don't have Google Maps. They can't just go look at a satellite and be like, "What does the terrain look like?" Like, legitimately, people had to go out there and map it. So that is very interesting. That part of it was very interesting. But there was a mystery that went along with it. And of course, we got to see Maisie and Maisie's dad and the people that she grew up with. This one was a little bit more serious. We also had a little bit of a turning point in Maisie's life. This is number 7 in the series. So I'm excited about the next book. I think things are going to start happening with her personally and with her extended family group. So anyway, I'm excited about it. Then I read Nothing Special Volume 2, which is a graphic novel about a boy who discovers that he is not quite human. We learned that in Volume 1, and now in Volume 2, one of his abilities is a little bit messed up. And so he and his girlfriend and the cutest little radish ghost. Yes, it's a ghost radish and it's adorable. Anyway, and others that I can't say, they go to try to figure out what's wrong with his ability and how they can help fix it. And so we just learn more things about him than we did in the first book. We're still learning about him in this book as well. And then I don't know what's going to happen in Volume 3. Volume 2 came out what year? Last year, 2024. So I don't know when Volume 3 is coming out, but when it does, I will be ordering it and I will be reading it. I physically have Volumes 1 and 2. I love them so much. They're so good. Oh, I didn't tell you. Sorry. Love Another Day, the Lexi Blake book, got 4 stars. And then The Mapping of Love and Death, and Nothing Special Volume 2 both got 4.5 stars. So still doing really well in my ratings and in my enjoyment of the books. Things did take a little bit of a dip right here, though. I read Soul Taming the Serpent. This was one of the SPFBO non-finalists that I had to read for the Herkyed thing. I read it physically, which normally takes me a really long time, but thanks to reading sprints here on my channel, I got it done this week or last week. And I gave it 3.5 stars. It was not bad. It just was not like wonderful. We learn that there is a serpent that has to appear before the dragon can appear. And the dragon is what provides water. Like something about the magic that the dragon has can provide rain to the area, the world where they live in. And it's been 50 years since there's been a dragon. And the ritual of taming the serpent has to be done to bring about the dragon. So that's why this is called Soul Taming the Serpent, because it's the actual ritual that has to happen. So we're mostly following a woman who was a kid when the last dragon died, and now she's in her 50s or 60s. I don't know how old she was, and there's been no rain for 50 years. And so the things that people are doing to there's some wells that still have water in them, and the ocean still has water, but it's been 50 years without rain. So they are desperate and things happen. And she somehow comes into contact with somebody that she believes is the serpent. And so she's trying to convince them that they're the serpent and they need to go do whatever the ritual is. So all of that to say that it was good. It just wasn't wonderful. Then I read The Plotters. And this was my book from South Korea that I had in my spin the country thing. And it is a very cool assassin book. Like I really liked the plot of this book. However, I only gave it 3 stars because I did not think the characters were well done. And that could be something that was lost in translation. My son kept saying, you can't rate it that low just because you didn't like it. What if the translator messed something up? He wanted me to be very fair to the author. But anyway, that was the only thing, is that I just didn't think that the characters were well-rounded. Even our main character, whose head we were in the whole time, it was still more like somebody was just telling us a story about what happened with him and not in a really gripping or visual way. So I just didn't like it very much. But I finished it so that I could get my South Korea book. I'm glad I finished it. Like I said, I do like the plot and the mystery that was surrounding the assassins and who are the plotters and how maybe they need to start questioning who is passing down their assassination assignments and question things a little bit more. So I liked it, just not a lot. Then I went back to fantasy and read The Magician's Daughter, which is like a historical fantasy. Oh my gosh, this was so good. The magician, whose daughter we're following, he has a familiar who is a rabbit. And oh my gosh, I was like, it's the cutest thing. Anyway, this is another magical hierarchy system where they've kind of been hiding away because magic has left the world, but he still has magic. And she is about to be thrown back into the world that she's never been in since she was a baby. She's been hidden away on this magical island. She has to navigate a lot of stuff to like figure out what's going on and how she can maybe help her dad and figure out all the rest of it. So I gave it 4.5 stars. It was very good. And I will definitely be reading more from H.G. Perry. This is the first one I've read from them. So I will definitely be reading more. Then the worst book that I read in the first half is On a Quiet Street by Serafina Novaglass. And when I say the worst book, I don't mean that the book was written badly. If you like domestic thrillers, like thrillers that have to do with families and neighborhoods and spouses and all of that stuff, then this will be perfect for you. I just realized, well, I kind of already knew that I didn't like them, but I realized that I really, really don't like them. And it is really just dealing with the dynamics of the families. There were moments in here where I was like, I am so happy that this is happening. And then there were moments where I was like, no, 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 no. Like I did not even want to look at the page. Like I was literally wanting to hold it away from me and squint my eyes to read it. I did read this mostly physically, but a little bit on audio. And I just, I did not enjoy it. It was a painful experience to finish it, but I wanted to be able to get my bingo. And so I finished it. I gave it 2.5 stars. That may be the lowest rating I've given a book. And my son was like, well, that's like half. And I'm like, okay, I get it. But 2.5 seems so low to me. Anyway, it's about 3 women that live in a neighborhood and how their lives become intertwined. That's all I can say. And overall, there were parts of it that I liked, but overall, I did not. Okay. The next one that I read was Deep End by Allie Hazelwood. And I thought, oh, yay, I'm going to get Allie Hazelwood and it's going to bring me back after the 2.5. I gave it 3.5 stars. This book almost felt like Allie Hazelwood was like, let me see if I can write a book that's literally just about sex. Okay, here you go. Like, this book had almost no plot. Yes, we got a little bit of a plot because our main character is a diver at Stanford University and she dove in incorrectly and hurt herself. And she had to rehab her injury and get back to where she was in shape to dive again, which she is, but mentally she cannot repeat one of those same dives that she hurt herself on. So there is that storyline going on in the background, but it is so small compared to the other thing that's happening. And I can't even say it's a romance. It is literally more of just a book about exploring sex. And then this little diving thing over to the side is in there. I liked the characters a lot for the most part. But again, this is one of those books that you only get one POV. And in romances especially, I cannot stand it. Like, if you're going to try to convince me that these two people need to be together or that they love each other, I need more than just one person's head to be inside. I need to be inside the other one's head to know what everybody's thinking. And so that always frustrates me. And so 3.5 stars for Deep End. My least favorite Allie Hazelwood of any of hers so far. Although this might be more mainstream romance than any of the rest of hers, but anyway, I did not love it. Now, that Deep End was the last one that I read. But then when I went back through my list, I realized that I had forgotten to put one on there, and that is Love Her or Lose Her by Tessa Bailey. This is the second book in the Hot and Hammered series. One of my channel members suggested that I read the first book, and I drew it to read in January. So I just read it in January, and I immediately put book 2 on hold at my library, and it became available, and I was like, this is what I'm reading. I know this is going to make me happy. And it did. I gave it 4 stars. It's about a married couple, which we don't see a lot in romances. And she's just kind of over the whole thing. And so she tells him, like, if you want me to stay here and you want me back, we have to go to marriage counseling. And she just assumed that he was going to be like, okay, no, that's not happening. But instead he was like, okay, I'll do whatever I have to do. So really what it was almost like an exploration of love languages. Like clearly he was trying to show her that he loved her, but he was doing it in his way. And that is not the way she feels loved. And so she was just like, okay, that's who he is. And that's what he does. And that just felt so real to me because early in my own marriage, we had the same situation where my husband was doing things because that's his love language is to do things for me. And that's not how I feel loved. And so I kept thinking, okay, that's just how he is. He likes to do things. That doesn't have anything to do with me. And so then we did the Five Love Languages book, and it really made a huge difference. So anyway, this was something similar. They, of course, were not like, let's get this book out and read it. But anyway, it was really cute. And there is a third book in the series, and I will be reading it. And it's about the third member of their little group who helped form this women's group where women support women and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, very cute. I love the series, and it was a really good book. So let me get out of the way. Let's really quickly look at the stats for the end of the month, and then we'll be done. Or for the middle of the month. Why do I keep acting like this month is over? So in case you weren't following along when I was reading them all, or weren't counting when I was telling you about the books, I read 11 books in the first half of the month, mostly fantasy and romance, as we can tell by this chart right here. And so that's it. There's not a lot to say about it other than 10 adult, 1 young adult, 10 novels, 1 graphic novel. I think the only difference over here, well, let's look at publication year is all over the place. There's 4 of them that were tied with the same number of books. As always, it's all over the place. I just love to see the colors on here. This is the part that is different. 7 of my 11 books were standalone. 1 got me caught up to the publication date, which is the Nothing Special Volume 2, and 3 of them are in progress. But 7 standalones, that is unheard of. And 3 of them were paperback, and 8 of them were on audio. So that is a little bit different as well. But let's look at our countries. So here we go. We have South Korea down here. And we have a couple of books in England and 1 in Ireland. So out of 11 books, I had 4 of them set in the US and 4 of them set outside the US. And the other 3 were fantasy books not set in the real world. So, I mean, that is the best stats I've ever had as far as reading non-American books. And then in America, let me get out of the way, I've got Oregon, California, Texas, and New York. Those are the 4 states for the 4 books that I read. So let me go do my favorite part, which is to look at every book I've read so far this year. And there we go. It's still not a ton, but there are some more places on here. We do have Nepal. We have South Korea. We have Ireland, England, France, and the US and Canada. So that's what we have right now. And then when we look at the US map, look at this map. What? Look at all these states. I'm so happy about it. The purple ones are the ones I've read the least from, and the green ones are the ones I've read the most, and the middle is blue. So that is it. Those are the stats. That's everything that I have read so far in the first half of March, as well as all the new books that I have gotten this month. And I will just see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.